What brings the worst out in people? The word free in a retail or restaurant type of setting. People will trample one another, take all of the items so there aren't any for others, gorge themselves, try to sneak food out with them. It's disgusting. I always liked the halt rule. If you're feeling hungry, angry, late or tired, then it's likely things you say or do will come off worse than you intend. Edit. Lots of replies about the L being lonely. That works too. Turns out learning acronyms differently brings out the worst in some people too. Weddings. My father is a minister. He says he would rather help with a funeral over a wedding any day. Weddings leave people with a sense of extreme desperation to achieve perfection. Divorce proceedings. Especially with kids involved, it can turn a couple of average people into monsters. When a loved one dies, people get really weird in a bad way about money and stuff. I know a bunch of people who had relatives who flat out stole money and valuables after the death of a family member. It's crazy. My own family has a permanent rift because when my grandmother died, 2 of the 5 siblings cleaned out her accounts. Stress. Most of us are capable of being decent human beings who make a positive contribution to society. You add stress into the mix and people start to crack. Financial stress, relationship stress, work stress. It doesn't matter. When our focus is pulled into simply surviving and staying afloat, our ability to empathize or provide support to others greatly diminishes. I think this is tied in with the low morale we are all experiencing right now. We're all unbelievably stressed. I've seen some of the nicest people completely snap and act shockingly because they just can't take the pressure anymore. Some good answers here, to which I'll add, giving things away for free. I've had the surreal experience of working at a Long Island tennis tournament attended by generally very wealthy people. They arrived in top-end luxury cars or limos, wearing designer clothes, and watches worth more than my car. I was tasked with opening a case of some sort of little branded tchotchke, like cheap pens, keychains, etc., and handing them out to the attendees as they walked the sponsor areas. People went berserk, shoving each other, lunging across the table. Thank cripes there was a table to grab stuff from my hand. Missing key tennis matches to lurk by our tent, awaiting the next crap dispersal. Whoa, I've seen this type of thing happen many other times too, with people going to great lengths just to get some pittance of which they have no need. Edit. Wow, lots of you have seen this phenomenon in action. Thanks for the discussion. To clarify, I picked on the rich Long Islanders and many pointed out that the rich are that way because they go after free stuff. But it happens anywhere the giveaways happen. Poor, average, and rich alike behave like this. And yeah, I can't overlook an opportunity to use tchotchke in conversation. Desperation. Unprocessed trauma from childhood. As someone that is struggling with mental health, I'm only now beginning to understand why I do a lot of what I do. When our needs for love and acceptance aren't met, we seek out soothing behaviors that numb the pain. It's really easy to end up in midlife with no real idea what it means to be happy and feeling no connection to others. As you begin to work on your issues, you find that the soothing behaviors are no longer as soothing because you know why you're doing it. So, you're stuck with the emptiness that you've always felt and no way to get out of the feeling. When you were told to wait 20 minutes and it's now been 21 minutes and you are still waiting. Hunger can make people do things they never thought they were capable of doing. It can drive your mind out of control. Inheritances. I've seen both my family and friends' families absolutely ripped apart after someone dies and another family member doesn't feel they've received their share, or that the will was unfair, or that property mysteriously goes missing before the estate is settled. Awful stuff. I think the worst is my friend's dad and his sister haven't spoken for over 30 years due to a squabble over their mother's will. 30 years. The kicker is that they're both quite well off on their own. Friend's dad is a very successful trial lawyer and friend's aunt married a successful doctor. This wasn't money either of them ever actually needed, but they've not had a relationship for decades because of it. Anonymity. Putting a mask on. Being on the internet, or otherwise concealing one's identity. People do some very ducked up things when they know they won't be held accountable. Mario Kart, Monopoly, you know. Basically any game where you can really duck over your friends and family. Funerals. All the heightened emotions make people irrational. Any buried family drama comes out at the worst possible time. I've been caught in the middle of it before. I didn't even know the deceased. I was there supporting my friend who had lost her mother. Someone decided this was the time to air a 20-year-old grudge as my friend walked by. My friend was so caught off guard by the accusation she was speechless. I told this crazy lady this wasn't the time or the place for this conversation, so she turned on me. Next thing I knew, some other family member was violently yanking her out of the room. I guess it could have been worse. But why did you have to make a scene at a funeral? Black Friday. Travel. To know what a person is really like, go traveling with them. People get real stupid when it comes to their kids. The "my baby can do no wrong" attitude when your child is ducking it up needs to stop. Jealousy. Not just for success. I've seen many relationships crumble because someone was happier than the other. Not being accepted by other people. Social contact and validation is no different from food or water. Yes, people can starve on validation too. That's why simple things like greeting strangers in the street or always saying thank you are so critically important. Alcohol. If alcohol were discovered tomorrow, it would be illegal. Money. The moment money is involved, a person's true nature comes out, and most of the time it won't be pretty. League of Legends. Politics. Edit. Holy smokes, I didn't expect this to blow up. Also, thank you so much for the awards. Thinking they're being cheated. It almost makes me want to stop doing games in class, because if there's two teams, both teams always complain that the other team has some sort of unfair advantage. In reality, neither team understands the true length of a minute and thinks they're being cheated on time. Echo chambers. It is easy to dehumanize people who are different than you when you never spend any time interacting with them. Organized religion. Specifically Christianity. I'm a Christian, and I think religion and personal faith is fine. But when you start having multi-million-dollar church buildings and preachers with million-dollar private jets, something's gone wrong. Pain. But at the same time it can bring out the strength you never thought you had. 2. Money. The poor want it, the rich use it, and the inheritors will kill over it. Traffic. The after work rush home is the worst. Everyone is tired, has generally had a bad day, and will do anything just to get home and relax. I-4 in Tampa is basically Mad Max Fury Road but with regular cars. Bullying. I got bullied a lot in primary school. As soon as I got rid of my bullies in secondary school, I started bullying other people in my new school. I regret it. I was such a D then. Custody battles. Holy duck. Fear. Every single answer so far ultimately ties back to fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of losing power. Fear of losing livelihood. Fear of sickness or death. Fear of failure. Fear of missing out. Fear, in any form, with any motivation, turns people into blind, panicky, stupid, vicious animals. And then there are those who benefit or profit by stoking fear in people. They, obviously, are worse than animals, but are likewise motivated by those same fears above, creating a vicious fear circle. Death in the family. Nothing draws the worst of the worst extended family out from under their rock like the prospects of free it. Money. I know lovely people that when you get money involved they turn into greedy assholes. I'm selling my company for a few mil as sole owner and decided to give each employee a massive piece of it because they deserved it in my mind. Some up to 35%. I thought it was generous. Then the ones that got the most are the most asshole about it, claiming it's not enough compared with what they do for me or demanding that I pay for stuff out of pocket for the deal to go through so the percentage means more money. I was like, WTF. I don't give a shit about money as can plainly be seen. It came naturally from good and hard work. But these people, it's all they care about. They are wonderful people otherwise. Being challenged or ganged up on. My mother will freak out whenever she feels like either of these happening to her and she starts screaming. At those points, it's pretty much best to walk away and ignore her. Though she likes to say I'm running away from her. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I needed to interact with your tantrum. Former legal assistant here, I'm telling you. You don't ever see the worst in someone until you're in the middle of a nasty divorce fighting for custody of your children. It's horrendous how evil some people can be to someone they once loved. Anything competitive. I've seen some of the nicest people you'd ever meet at each other's throats at the first sign of competition. Other people. No matter how much of an asshole you think you can be when you're alone, when you're around other people whose assholery is even slightly aligned with yours, there's an amplification effect. You start off just asking questions on internet message boards, and a year later you're snapping selfies while you try and storm the Capitol. You winning the lottery. Your family will turn into super leeches. Social media. It's not even close. Not to be generic, but money. More specifically in my case, a well-paying job. I've seen some of my friends go from being cool, humble people with okay paying jobs to being complete snobs about money as soon as they got a well-paying one. As soon as they started making more money than most of their friends, they would rub it in our faces. Or compare incomes, claiming we need to step it up, and that it's our fault we're poor. Chemical alcohol addiction and impairment. Power can. Some people handle it great and are good leaders. Other people mistake passing off their responsibilities while sitting on their ass for delegating. Depression. Sometimes depression doesn't express itself only as sadness. Sometimes it expresses itself as a really loathsome form of selfishness and desperation. And you will do almost anything to try and feel right again. And you don't care as much as you should who you step on to feel that way. I'm someone who treated many great people very poorly while I was in some of the darker parts of my life. It certainly doesn't excuse my behavior, but it has helped me to come to grips with it a bit, to stop punishing myself, and to help me understand the responsibility I have in dealing with my mental health. When you tell somebody that you support Trump, edit, clearly as seen below this, you can see that this is true. This is a strange one, but I'm saying horses, at least in the dressage world. I dated and was married to a state champion dressage rider for about 5 years total, so I got a pretty close look into that world. Those people are not only just straight up weird, but they are conniving backstabbers as well. Also, when you add in that itty air people have when they are just a little rich, it makes for some awful personalities all around. The riders aren't so much that way, but the owners and trainers definitely are. The riders are more just plain weird. Physical pain. When a person is in pain, it's all they can think about. They're not the same person they usually are, and they can do and say things that are totally unlike them, because all they're thinking about is how much they hurt. Jealousy and envy. About to call a friend whom I've learned is extremely judgmental about anything she doesn't agree with. These things all tend to lead back to her perception that people have it better than her. My daughter turned 16. We are getting her a car for her birthday. Nothing fancy. Priority on safety features and reliability so it will last her through college. I've known this friend is very judgmental of kids getting cars for their birthday, but hoped she had kept this between adults. Her job has her interacting with many kids of her friends. Last night my daughter went to the class this person teaches, excited to share the news with her friends. Instead, my friend quizzed her on whether the car was going to be new or used, if she got anything else for her birthday, said she should have asked for a new car for every day of the week, and on and on. No congratulations. No how exciting. Just oh and the Inquisition. So now I have a call to make. I'm a big believer in telling people when you are upset. Can't expect hope for change if people don't know you bothered. Rounding back. Jealousy and envy are ugly beasts. Cancel culture. Virtue signaling. Critical race theory. Fame. Obviously this doesn't happen to everyone. Sometimes people are so used to be given attention or free stuff for their status that they become hostile when they don't get it. Idiots in the store with their masks around their chin, not keeping their distance from anyone else. The supermarket is literally the only place you go, but it'd kill you to leave the mask up for 15 minutes. High expectations. Think Brazilians and families in Disney World. If everything doesn't go perfectly, People with very high expectations for something get very upset very quickly. Economic insecurity. Feelings of marginalization either through class, race or gender, and overall isolation from community. Being bombarded with constant marketing and messages that make you feel like you aren't doing well enough and need to constantly improve yourself. Being manipulated by social media and marketing that uses your data to find what might you tick and buy that extra thing you definitely need. Lack of freedom to pursue your interests because you are just trying to survive, and the risk of losing your job causes too much anxiety because you know there is no system in place to help. Life is a struggle, and to get through the challenges you either need the support of your community and relationships, or you end up relying on the exploitation and dehumanization of others to keep your head above water. Lack of perceived consequence. If people think they can get away with something with no repercussion, they will do it no matter how morally objectionable they say it is in public. Politics. My own mother, who I love, has fallen deep into the canon conspiracy. She claims that I hate America and I'm a satanic sympathizer while also calling me autistic among other things. She never used to do stuff like this. Death. I worked in the cemetery business for a while and I noticed people who are coping with grief show you who they are. Sometimes they're kind and soft, not wanting to spread their pain, and those people melt my heart. Other times people get greedy, wanting this or that from the deceased and making a big stink if they don't get it. Some people are so concerned with appearances they get in arguments with other family. That's splitting costs. About a $15,000 vault versus $1,200 because we can't be seen burying mama in that. I've seen so many people, including family, get so wrapped up in their own grief that they think it supersedes everyone else's feelings, even to the other people that are grieving. Making absurd requests like asking someone to organize a funeral but not come to it because seeing you is just too hard right now. Things like that. I feel like if you want to see who someone really is, you need to see them organize a funeral. Politics. Left or right. People just go too extreme in rhetoric and hate. Tribal politics. Large sums of money, power, a sense of untouchability, myth. Black Lives Matter. Edit. Oh duck, my original comment was supposed to say saying Black Lives Matter. My bad lol. Politics. Especially in an anonymous forum. A really good book for this kind of thing is Night. It's a true story about a boy who survived the Holocaust, and it describes how humans were acting like animals over the smallest slice of bread and other thing. Well, after last year, politics. When you don't agree with their views on something. I watched this white girl call a guy in our class racist. This was over a video we watch in class about how Asian men and African American women statistically get less swipes on dating apps like Tinder. He, who is Asian American by the way, said that it's not racist to have a preference. This girl started yelling saying that's such a racist thing to say. Everyone in our class hated her. If you didn't agree with her she would call you racist, homophobic, the list goes on. She called me xenophobic once cause I didn't fully agree with her on her stance on immigration. I didn't believe that immigrants should be let into the country without having some form of background check. I went to and graduated from an international school in Europe. Some of my best friends who I'm still in contact with were from different countries and cultures. Over half of my classmates from my graduating class spoke English as a second language. My family isn't extremely rich and I always feel weird telling people because it feels like I'm showing off, but it's just my life. This happened a few years ago and it still pisses me off. She basically called me racist without knowing anything about me besides that I didn't agree with her. Friends or family who consistently tell their loved ones what they want to hear instead of what they need to hear. Who, in order to avoid confrontation, or out of a lack of concern for consequences which may not affect them directly, fail to acknowledge or attempt to curb poor behavior. It's common to hear that a good friend will always have my back. However, I believe that the best of friends are those who have genuine concern for your well-being and mental moral health. Those who are willing to have the hard conversations with you and inform you when you are about to act the fool.